So hi, Richard.
Hi, hello. Welcome to NAMM 2020 Setup Day. Feels like we weren't here last year, but somehow I've been here now an hour and a half, and I feel like I've never left.
It kind of does that to you now.
It does. It does. You get that vibe. Maybe it's because I didn't sleep last night. I just got off of the plane, but for whatever reason, I'm here. I'm excited to be here, and I'm happy to walk you around what we're showing. So we're focusing on a couple new things here. We have, first of all, the Lifeforms SV-1b. The Lifeforms SV-1 is by far the most popular product we've ever had. The most popular synthesizer, the most popular Eurorack module. We do it in a standalone black box version, which we've just sold a ton of. This version is identical to that. The differences being that this one is the SV-1b, B standing for black, because it now has this beautiful black panel with graphics that match the new look of the Lifeforms modules. We've also substituted out some white buttons for the little black buttons that were on the SV-1. Really, that's the only difference. We were going to call it just the SV-1, but a few years ago when Korg had the MS-2000, then they switched to the MS-2000B, which was the black version, because if you remember, the MS-2000 was this dark blue. So they switched to the black version, they called it the B, and I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. You can't just rename something because you changed the color. So this was sort of an ode to that. I found out much later on that no, they had actually changed something. They had added an XLR mic input for the vocoder and whatnot. But the story was over at that point. I thought it was fantastic that for no reason at all, they just added a B to it and went on with their day. So this, we actually did nothing to it. We've just added a B, changed the color to black. Still sounds amazing, still has all the same features you would expect. Each module is a standalone Eurorack module packaged together as a synthesizer. And these will be, excuse me, I'm losing my voice already. These will be shipping in about 6 weeks.
So we're hearing a lot of the delay on there. So this is four delays kind of set up together, right?
It is 4 delays. This is the Lifeforms Cascading Delay Network module. We wanted something to be we wanted a flagship delay in our Eurorack line. So we thought, well, how can we do that? There's only so many interesting things you can do with a delay line. So I thought, well, what if we take 4 delay lines and then behind the scenes reroute them in ways that allow you to create much larger delays and create custom feedback paths, and that you have your tap-ins, your tap-outs, and see what you can get out of that. So this, in its simplest form, and the way we're listening to it right now, is 4 delays. We're listening to them in 2 stereo pairs.
And are they in series at the moment, or?
Right now, they're all in parallel. So the input is normal to the input of all 4, and we're just listening to 4 delays. Each delay has up to 600 millisecond delay time. That can be adjusted by the user in the end. You can adjust it all the way up to 2.8 seconds if you want. It's not going to sound very good at that point. It'll just sound crushed all the way through. But 600 milliseconds clean delay.
And they're digital delays?
We're using the PT2399 chip. The PT2399 chip is sort of as analog as you can get and still be digital at the same time. It's an old chip they used for karaoke machines. So it's in a lot of guitar pedals. And the nice thing about that is it allows us to chain 4 of these together and retain somewhat of a low noise floor. The original design of this, we did have, each one of these was a BBD delay. And what we found was 1 BB delay sounds great, but 2, you start to hear a little bit of noise. And by the time you get to 4, there's so much noise, it's unusable. So we switched to the PT2399s, gives us more delay time, and it also gives us a lower noise floor. So it works out great for us. You still have voltage control over the delay. For all intents and purposes, we're using it as an analog delay line. So what makes this module specifically interesting, though, is we have these 5 different Cascade modes. The mode we're listening to right now is individual, so each one of the channels is running individually, but we can switch now to this mode. We call this 4+0 because what we've created here is a delay line that is 1 delay line using all 4. So the delay times for each one are summed together, and you have one long delay with a single feedback path. That's interesting because that gives you then, if we shut down our inputs here, you have a single delay line, or you can add tap-ins for your multi-tap delay just by turning up the levels. And that's going to patch in whatever's input here, or if it'll patch this, the normal, if you don't have anything else patched in. And that's interesting to create one log. You can have a nice long delay with that. But I thought, well, what if now, because we have all these feedback paths we're not using, what if we just went a little bonkers with it? You can see these feedback paths aren't even being used right now. The LEDs are off. So we have another mode here that now enables every feedback path available. And because there's so much routing behind the scenes, there's 7 different feedback paths active right now. So we can just add a little bit of feedback from each one, and it just starts to go crazy on us. And this is really nice to create big, dense, lush reverbs and big soundscapes. You can do a lot of noise with this, a lot of great drones with this. So this, again, acting as one feedback or one delay line with multiple feedback paths, multiple tap-ins, but we have all these other Cascade modes as well, and they're all basic takes on the same idea. So the next one down here, this one is, these 3 delays are grouped together as one, and then we have a standalone delay over here that acts on its own. And again, we have one, for the 3 here, we have one delay feedback path, and the delay times sum to create one long delay. Hit Cascade button again. Now we've enabled all of the feedback paths within this triple one to create, again, those lush reverb sounds. And we're using this with one synthesizer plugged into it. You could easily patch 2 or 3 different sounds into this and mix them all together.
Okay, so you can patch into each delay separately.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can still, even though these are grouped together as one delay, you can still insert then into the delay line. So it's sort of a patch into the middle of the delay. So you don't hear that initial dry. All you get is anything patched in here is just going to be heard in the repeats, which is kind of interesting. The next mode then splits it 2 and 2. So we have 2 pairs. So these are 2 delay lines. And you can see, because we're listening to the stereo outputs, but we're listening to channel 1 and 3 and channel 2 and 4, we're kind of left and right as a combination of both. So you get this really interesting stereo panning out of it. And like with the other one, you can enable all of the delay lines available. To create some really interesting effects. And the last mode here is 2 paired together and then 2 individual. So it looks very simple. When you take a glance at it, you realize, oh, it's just 4 delays. But because behind the scenes there's so much going on and so many different routes available, you end up with these very complex, very unique delay patterns. So now I'm going to patch into the CV input. We're just going to take our triangle wave over here. I'm going to turn it down here a little bit, explain what's going on. The way the CV works on this module is there's 2 CV inputs, and each CV input then is bused to all 4 delays. And the reason we did it that way is that because these are chained together, we wanted to be able to use the same delay line for multiple, or the same CV for multiple delays. So we could add a little delay to channel 1 maybe, a little bit to channel 2, get some interesting effects. And then the second channel, if you don't patch anything into it, it's going to give you the inverted signal coming into the 1. So we can add then the negative of the CV to the other 2 channels, and you can end up with just absolute chaos. So The modulation can obviously go from really, really subtle to what we're hearing now, which is a lot of modulation.
So you can get kind of chorusing and flanging and all that kind of modulation.
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of modulation options are available, and because you can break these apart, you could use one of them for a chorus type effect and then use the other 3 as delays, or you can use as if 4 separate delays. It's really, really flexible. Because you have 4 standalone delay units, it allows you to do quite a bit, and this ends up being the delay in your system.
So when are you hoping to kind of have it ready?
This one's in production now. We're hoping it's going to be shipping in 6 to 7 weeks.
And do you have a kind of price ready? Or?
The price for the Cascading Delay Network is going to be $549 US. Really, really an interesting module. It's one of those modules that draws you in and you end up just sitting and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. You go with an initial idea of what you're looking for, but in the end you come up with something really beautiful and really unique.
Excellent. Richard, thank you very much.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for stopping by the booth.